This is my first presentation ever. So, yeah. So, if I choke, if I fuck up or I swear, or, if I just stare into space for 15 minutes going bright red, bear with me, and I hope everyone's on my side, particularly if you're tweeting. Today I'm going to talk, and also if I over-rely on my notes, which I have a tendency to do. Today we're going to talk about content strategy, particularly for MRX. And hopefully what I'm going to be providing you is kind of like a laundry list of all the things you need to consider when you're building a content strategy. There I am. That is Photoshop. Unfortunately, it does. I mean, it's kind of very similar body shape, I guess. Thanks to my design team for embarrassing me. So what do we talk about when we talk about content? A lot of people come to us and they'll think content is, it's a white paper, it's a downloadable report, it's a blog post, but that's really looking at it at too narrow a lens. Content really is everything. It's your social media messages, it's your web copy, it really is just, as well as those blog posts, white papers and downloadable reports, content is really just the medium of the message. And where does it sit? So this is your classic sales funnel. And a lot of the time, content marketing would sit up there along with building brand awareness. You can see PR networking, blogs, social media. But a good content strategy should support and run through every element of that sales funnel. So it's the case studies your sales team are using to, establish your expertise with new clients, but it's also the emails that you're sending to your existing clients to keep them engaged. So what is content strategy? Simply, it's ensuring that your content, the medium and the message are aligned with your core objectives, your values, your business values, and it should support and feed into your overall business strategy. I've got a great quote from Christina Halvorsen, who's an author on content strategy. The message should be driving the media, not the media being in control of the message. And if you bear that in mind for the presentation, that'll be helpful. So what happens when you have no content strategy? Well, you've got no focus. You've got a scattergun approach to what you're trying to market. You try to mean everything to everyone, and that's quite a key issue for a lot of market research agencies at the moment. You've got no coherent message. What do you stand for? What's your point of view? There's no differentiation in the market, which is also a key issue that a lot of people come to us with. And also, you're not building relevance for your customers. Your content is not addressing any of their needs. And because of this, you're getting poor leads coming through to your business. So a content strategy will help you provide a coherent message. It will help you be relevant. It will differentiate yourself from your competitors. It will help you create high-quality content. It will help you establish expertise, which I will talk a bit more in a second because it's really important in MRX. And ideally, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will drive business to you. So establishing expertise is incredibly important at the moment. This is a graph from our good friends at Cambiar Consulting. As you can see, the percent revenue change in the 2005 to 2015 for specialist agencies is going through the roof, where the generalist agencies, those jack-of-all-trades guys, GfK, Kantar, is reducing quite significantly. And this is because a lot of the insights functions for big brands are being brought in-house. So that less business is going to the generalist agencies, and it's becoming even more important that you establish yourselves as specialists, as experts, whether that's in a methodology or that's in a particular sector or market. So we're going to run through, notes, first presentation and everything. So we're going to run through what we do with our clients, which is a workshop. It's a full-day workshop, sometimes a day and a half, and I'm going to try and squeeze it into 15 minutes. So it will be quite bird's-eye view type stuff. But these are all the things that we get our clients to consider when we put together their content strategy. There's a lot of research, a lot of analysis in there. And I should also say is when we do it with our clients in the workshop, we bring people from all over the business. So it's not just the CMO, the marketing manager, or the business owner, but we're bringing in people that are working with clients. We're bringing in people that really know the business inside and out. That's because you need a lot of information from a lot of areas of the business, but it also, executing a content strategy can be quite time involved. So at this point, we're also building engagement within the business for that content strategy. So the first stop is where now, and this details, well, exactly what it says, I think. Where are you now? What's your business doing? So we look at, first thing we do is look at understanding your business. Where does your expertise lie? Which services are more profitable? Which areas are growing? Which are plateauing? And where are the opportunities within your business for growth? And a quick example of this, we're working with a client who had Nintendo. They used to do a big annual study with Nintendo. And they were doing a lot of content that was being pushed out around that sector. Now, the problem was, with Nintendo, they had a really tight non-compete clause. And the marketing guys, the content guys, didn't know about this non-compete clause, so they were pushing out all this great content, but it meant that if anyone was coming in that wanted to do that kind of work with them, they wouldn't be able to, so they were pointless. From then, you look at understanding your market. This is really important. What is happening in market research? What is happening in vertical sectors? And what are the key trends that are happening? And what are the key issues facing your clients? What are the problems that you can help solve? As an example, again, this is from our friends Cambia, so the Future of Research study. This shows the percentage of clients doing more or less particular methodologies in the next 5 years. As you can see, almost 60% of clients are expecting to do less face-to-face focus groups, but at the same time, there is definitely an upswing for digital focus groups. So if you're doing face-to-face focus groups, you've got to start thinking, is the content that we're producing that we're trying to drive sales to face-to-face focus groups really worth it? And should we be focusing on other areas? And then, I would say that a lot of these things for a marketer sound pretty basic. However, in the last 3 years, I've been working with Keen as Mustard. Every client that we've come to do this workshop, I don't think any of them have done a full competitor analysis, which to me is insane. So you really understand who you're losing pitches to, what messages are your competitors focusing on, and what content are they pushing out through which different channels. And the idea here is you're finding gaps. So within the industry at the moment, automated data collection is very much in vogue. Every company is trying to push out a product at the moment, or at least have a view on it. But within the MRX industry, particularly in the UK, that conversation is being owned by Zappy Store. So you need to find out where that gap is. If you really want to move forward with automation, you need to find out where that gap is. You need to be saying something different to those guys. Otherwise, your messaging is just going to be lost. And I can tell you, most of you have a much lower marketing budget than Zappy Store for this kind of thing. So once you've done all that preliminary work, notes, first presentation. So you need to, once you've done all that work, you understand where your business is, who you're targeting, or so first presentation. So then we move on to the where to, and this is all about interrogating where you want your business to go. Some of this I think Steve already covered, but there's definitely some overlap here. So the first thing you need to look at is your company vision. Where do you want to be from 5 years from now? How do you want to grow? Are there any new products and techniques you want to introduce to the market? Or are you abandoning any old and out-of-date products, face-to-face focus groups, for example? So this allows you to be proactive rather than reactive. So if you've got a new product that's being launched next year, you can set your content to establish yourself in the expertise surrounding that beforehand. So you're not just, when you launch your new product, you're doing like a month-long kind of product launch campaign. You spent the last 8 to 12 months really hammering that message in the industry. So when you do launch it, it seems aligned, it seems on brand, and you've already established yourself as experts in it. Again, this is something that Steve covered, but this is a plot we do with a lot of our clients. This example is from a digital qual agency in the UK. I won't go over too much because Steve's already been through this kind of stuff, but we have the two scales, and it allows you to visualize where you are at the moment and also where you want to go, which is quite good for a kind of engagement of the people in the company, understand that where they're going, and it also allows you to see where competitors are doing all their work. So now you've looked at that, you understand what your business is, where you are at the moment, and the direction you want to go. Now it's really important that you focus on your target audiences, and in this context, you're looking at sectors or markets. And I think it's really important to focus on 2 or 3. I think if you look at a lot of research agency websites, there'll be a drop-down list, we specialize, and then a list of 15 sectors you specialize in. You're a company of 20 people, you don't specialize in all those things, and you really need to focus, because establishing expertise is all about focus and repetition and ensuring that message is focused on those markets. I think it's also important to say, if you want to focus on retail, finance, but you're really worried about, but you also do some work for utilities clients, you're not going to lose that business. You're not going to, it's suddenly, because you're focusing on these 2 sectors, you're not going to get any business from any of the other sectors. And then this is another really important, really useful exercise to do, which Priscilla also mentioned, which is client personas. This is an example of one of ours. So we are targeting market research suppliers. And this is a bit stripped down, so we usually have a bit more information on ours. But you've got personality, who are they communicating with, budgets, very important, and also their client problems, which is incredibly important. So for market research suppliers, the ones that come to us, we understand that brand awareness, market differentiation, and thought leadership are the key problems for those guys. What this does is allows you to better target your content, but it also humanizes who you're speaking to. So if you're writing a blog for Greenbook, you're not writing a blog for Greenbook, you're writing a blog for a market research supplier that addresses those client problems. It's the channel that is Greenbook. So once you've done that, once you understand where you are and where you want to go to, you need to look at your why. And the why is really important. It's the basis of your content strategy. It's the basis of everything you do. And it's your philosophy, what you think, how you think, your standpoint, your point of view. How do consumers behave? How do they make decisions? And I think a really good example of someone that does this really well is System 1, formerly Brain Juicer. We think much less than we think is their tagline. And if you look at what they do, if you look at John Kieran bounding around stage, IIX behavior, you know that everything they talk about is implicit testing. Everything they talk about is like subconscious decision-making or unconscious decision-making. Everything is geared to that, even to the point that they changed their brand name to reflect it, which arguably is bad, a good or bad idea. But they do other work. They do kind of more, they also do the bread and butter stuff, the traditional market research, but they just don't talk about it because it's not about their philosophy, it's not about their why. And this also requires some commitment. We were working with a client who does a lot of customer satisfaction studies, and the team really hated NPS. They didn't think it was a good metric, and they wanted to be, you know, the agency that's providing alternatives, that's really drilling down into what their customers want, and they wanted to get rid of NPS. But the more we interrogated it, the more we realized that actually 60% of their business is NPS-based work, and if a client came to them and was like, oh, we need to do an NPS study, they weren't going to say no, and they weren't going to try and kind of guide them to another side because, you know, they felt the customer was always right. So we had to go back and look at other ways we could kind of target their content. In the end, we went for a post-demographic kind of side, so looking at attitudes rather than behaviors and things like that. Is that 5 minutes? Cool, I'm almost done. From there, now you understand who you are, where you're going in really great detail, but you also understand, most importantly, the issues and the problems your clients are facing. Then you can start putting together things like your content themes and your content subjects. Content ideation is probably a whole nother presentation I could do, so I won't go into it too much, but really where you've got to focus on is content that provides solutions to client problems. And if there's one thing you take away from this presentation, it's that quote: the customer's goal is not to find you, it's to find answers. That's not my quote, but at the same time, I don't know who said that. It's all over the internet, but I can't put it any more succinctly than that, to be honest. And then you've got the more tactical side of it is looking at channels and resources. So first off, with a lot of the stuff, you need good writers with time to commit. You need people that can turn complicated methodologies, that can turn data and insights into a good story that follows your messaging. That's not that easy. A lot of researchers write very academically, so you really need to be honest about who in the business is able to do that. And also, very importantly, good content is not an island. As I said before, it enshrines everything. So a blog post or an article in, say, Adweek is not going to get you any business, unless you're really lucky. And it needs to run through everything. So it needs to run through your web copy, your SEO, your email campaigns, your social media messaging, blog posts, downloads, reports. You need to hammer this because cohesion and repetition and consistency is what establishes expertise in the industry. And then from that, you can look at building editorial calendars and things like that. So to summarize, where now, where to, and why, if you work through everything here, with your team, with a big team, then it's almost like the content you need to write, the content strategy kind of writes itself. And in the end, hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything works out well, you'll be able to provide a clearer message, you'll be relevant, you'll differentiate yourself from competitors, you'll be creating high quality content, you'll be establishing expertise, and fingers crossed, you will be driving business to your company. There you go. Yeah, that's us. That's me.
Any questions?
Hi, Adam. I should say we've worked with Keenan's Mustard, and they are very good, so I recommend them.
Thanks very much.
I think something that I realized watching you is just how powerful examples are in some of the examples that you hinted at. Are you able to give us any more examples of great content strategies or even bad content strategies that you've seen agencies use?
I think the one that springs to mind, and I was also going to use it, I was planning on using it, but you forget things, first presentation. When I was talking about getting good people to write, and you can do that in a number of ways. So Lightspeed GMI do a really good job, but it's all focused on one person. It's all focused on John Paulston, but he just has carte blanche to do whatever he wants. And that's his job, is to go in every morning and experiment and find new ways of looking at data. And then they drive a lot of that through conference presentations and things like that, downloadable reports. I also think North Star Research in the UK do a really good job, because what they do is they provide their younger researchers, so the people that are actually working with clients, they provide them the time and the resources to do their own self-funded research, their own kind of vanity projects, and then give them a platform to push them out, whether that's through PR, conference presentations, and things like that.
Is there any, I don't know if this is working. Is there any rule of thumb in terms of when you start to kind of push in this content area, when you start to get more aggressive, how many touches is it before it actually leads to business? Because I realize you're building your expertise, you're building awareness first, and then at the end, it's kind of like your business objectives, right?
I mean, a lot of it is luck. I mean, I think they say 4 or 5 touch points before someone buys something. I don't know whether that's really been quantified. But working with our clients, I mean, it really kind of changes. We had one client at Sensory Research, company that we were working through to do PR for, and we placed a load of bunch of articles in kind of specialist sector magazines, and within 6 months of the retainer, they had brought in a good 6 figures plus worth of business because of that placement. But we work with other companies, and it's taken a year before. I mean, the company in particular started with nothing, with like no brand awareness, and it's taken a year before they've started seeing the benefits of way more leads, more business inquiries, and people coming to them and saying, I saw this research in utilities, I want to speak to you.
Hi there. The question is about the slide where you showed all the data about the changes in spend for the categories, and specialty was what I think was growing so much. Research categories.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you might be able to maybe even put the slide back up, but tell us more about what specialty means and what you think it means, and from your insight on that. It was a great slide. I'm assuming it's coming from SMR or something. I think that's it. Is it? Wait, that one?
That one? Or was it?
Well, both of them are really good. Both of them are great. So
specialist agencies in this context will be kind of agencies that focus, say, in things like behavioral economics, but also, online qual, perhaps. It's a pretty broad church, specialist agencies. It's basically everyone that's not those big kind of unwieldy jack-of-all-trades companies like Kantar and GfK and things like that. It also means like specialties in specialist agencies in particular sectors, so shopper or retail or something like that.
Can you go to the other slide just for a second?
Yeah.
That was data mining.
There. So, anything else? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah, I've been Ferris Buellering it around all week. It's great. Yeah.
Any more questions? Oh. One more here in the back.
I just have a quick one, maybe a comment. You, about learning about your competitors, obviously really important. I think we would all love to know who we're losing pitches to, but I find that's like the industry's best kept secret. Clients very rarely tell you who you're going up against. Is there a way or anything you can recommend or strategies in terms of how we could get that information? Because when we ask, we don't get.
It's a number of different sources that we use. So we'll obviously ask our clients. We'll also do our own desk research. But and I didn't mention this because of time, a lot of the time when we do kind of a workshop like this, we will be doing a lot of kind of qual interviews with people within the industry that aren't connected to your company, and we'll also be asking them, who do you feel are the competitors, and we aggregate that all together. It depends. Some companies that we do work with have a pretty good idea, and there's usually some surprising ones, but we try and bring in as many sources as we can. So sorry, it's not a magic bullet kind of answer. Anyone? Yes? Cool.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, everyone.